Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are diving into the absolutely brilliant marketing mind of Seth Godin. And this isn't about little tips or tricks. No, this is about a massive shift in how we think about connecting with people in the first place. All right, let's kick things off with a question for you. What do you think is the single biggest, most common mistake that almost everyone makes in marketing? Just take a second to think about it. The answer is actually incredibly simple. The biggest mistake is making a key. That's it, just creating a key without knowing the lock. I mean, think about it. We build our product, our service, our key, and then we just run around like crazy, desperately trying to find a lock it might fit. It's a recipe for burnout and frustration. But today, we're going to explore a much, much better way. So here's our game plan. We'll start with that foundational idea, the key before the lock. Then we'll get into how you earn attention and trust. We'll unpack the psychology of why people choose what they choose. We'll talk about crafting your message. And finally, we'll redefine what the real job of marketing even is. First up, Section 1, the key before the lock. Honestly, this is the whole foundation. If you get this one idea, everything else just clicks into place. This principle completely flips the old way of thinking on its head. The rule is just so simple. First, you find a lock. That means a specific group of people with a specific need or a problem. Only then do you start carefully building a key, a product designed specifically for them. It sounds so obvious when you say it, right? But so many businesses get this totally backward, and they make their job 1,000 times harder than it needs to be. Okay, so you found your audience, you found your lock. Now what? How do you actually connect with them? That brings us to Section 2, earning attention and trust. This is all about shifting from interrupting people to getting an invitation. You know, the story of the legendary salesman Zig Ziglar is the perfect example of this. See, the old school way to sell pots and pans was to load up your car, drive into a town, make a few quick sales to whoever was ready, and then leave. But Zig did something different. He'd stay in one village for weeks, just building relationships. He wasn't just there for a quick transaction. He earned the trust of the entire community just by being there, being consistent. And the result? His sales went through the roof. And this idea of earning trust over time, well, that's the very heart of what Seth Godin calls permission marketing. It is the complete opposite of spam. It's not about screaming at people with annoying ads they never ask for. It's about earning the privilege of delivering messages that people actually look forward to. You know, like a blog you truly love to read, or a newsletter you actually open every single time it hits your inbox. So how can you tell if your marketing is really working, if it's truly a permission asset? Well, Godin has this ultimate test. He asks, would your audience miss you if you were gone? Seriously, if your blog or your newsletter just vanished tomorrow, would anybody even notice? Would they feel a sense of loss? That's the standard we should all be aiming for. Okay, so we found our audience, we've earned their permission to have a conversation. Now, we have to understand what actually makes them tick. And that leads us right into Section 3, the psychology of choice, where we look at why people really make the buying decisions they do. Let's talk about price, because price is never just a number. It's a powerful story, a signal. A low price usually signals a commodity. It's the choice we make when we don't have any emotional connection. But a high price can signal trust, quality, and real value. It creates a totally different feeling. You know, when we're faced with two brands we've never heard of, we almost instinctively assume the more expensive one is better. This is why Seth Godin has this incredibly powerful line. He says, low price is a sign of a marketer who ran out of ideas. It's basically the last resort. It's what you do when you just can't think of a better, more interesting story to tell about the value you create. And beyond price, there's another absolutely primal human driver, status. We are constantly, whether we know it or not, navigating our social standing. You might spend a ton of extra money on a car to signal a higher status. But in another context, say a business lunch, you might order a cheaper meal than your boss to intentionally show respect and maintain the status quo. So the big takeaway here is this. If a customer's choice seems to make no logical sense, look for the story about status they're telling themselves. So we know who we're talking to and we understand their deep-seated motivations. Let's move on to Section 4 and see how that all translates into your message and your method, basically the what and the where of your communication. The famous Harvard marketing professor Theodore Levitt said it better than anyone ever has. People don't want to buy a quarter-inch drill bit. They want a quarter-inch hole.
This one idea right here is the absolute key to crafting a message that actually connects with people.
So what does this look like in the real world? Well, the wrong way is to go on and on about your product's features. You know, how fast the drill bit spins, what kind of fancy metal it's made of. The right way is to understand the customer's real problem. They want to put up a shelf and explain how your product is the best solution for that. You're not selling a drill bit. You're selling the feeling of a successfully installed shelf.
And where you deliver this message matters a lot. Broadly speaking, there are two types of marketing. You've got direct marketing, things like email or social media ads. It's all about getting someone to take a specific action, and it's super easy to measure. Then you have brand marketing. Think billboards or TV commercials. That's more about shaping the culture, and it's way harder to measure. Knowing which game you're playing is absolutely critical.
All right, let's bring this all home. In our final section, section 5, we're going to talk about the real job of marketing. You know, what we've really been talking about this whole time is a series of fundamental mindset shifts. It's about moving from key first to lock first, from interrupting people to earning their permission. It's about shifting your whole story away from price and towards value, and your message away from features and towards solutions. When you get right down to it, the modern job of marketing isn't about selling at all. It's about solving. Which leaves us with one last incredibly important question. The question isn't how do I sell my stuff or how can I find more customers? The question a modern marketer, a real marketer asks is this: what problem will you choose to solve?